All right, hey out there. It is springtime, and the way that we know it is springtime is every time around this time of year when daytime temperatures pop above freezing and nighttime temperatures are below freezing. That is maple sugaring time. So if you're looking at the forecast and you're like, when do I tap my maple trees? That is your hint that it's go time for the maple trees. And you can see that this tree is already tapped. There are many different kind of maple trees. The one that's traditionally used for collecting sap to cook down into maple syrup is called a sugar maple. And sugar maple trees have the bark almost looks like syrup flowing down, like it's got this kind of wavy, grooved way to it. We do not have sugar maples here. What we have at Badger Rock is silver maples. They also have really lovely sap with lots of sugar in it, and you can make syrup from that too. The difference is with a sugar maple, you get around 30 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. So that's a lot of sap, right? And with silver maples, it's more like usually about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. So we often get the question of how do you tell if it's a maple tree? So come on over here and we'll take a look at the buds. So maple trees, if you look up into this tree, you can see the branches on the those little branchlets, how they look like they're holding hands across the stem from each other. That is called opposite. So maple trees have opposite leaves and opposite branching pattern. And you can see on this tree the bright kind of reddish buds. That's really common for a silver maple. And so the opposite branches and leaves look like that. If it was an alternate, which most plants are, they're offset like that. So like this instead of like that is a hint that it may be a maple tree. There are a few other trees that also have opposite branches and leaves. So the best bet is to go out with somebody who knows their trees really well the first time you tap and make sure that you're tapping what you think you're tapping. Maples aren't the only kind of tree you can tap, but they're the most common one. So Forrest Smart on our team, on our Badger Rock Farm and Education team, he came and gave an offering to the trees before we started tapping them this year, and he was teaching our students about the importance of reciprocity in his native culture and always giving something back when you're going to take something from nature, so that it's a give and take, and that you are also thanking the tree for the sap. So we did that earlier this week with Forrest, and he did that with our students. And then we tapped our trees. So tapping trees, you need just a few simple tools. You're going to need a drill. That is to drill a hole in the tree. You're going to need a tap. And taps, you can find these silver taps are really common ones. They're basically like a hollow tube that you use a hammer to tap into the hole that you drilled so that the sap can flow out of the tree. So that's called a tap. You'll need a hammer to tap the tap in, and then you'll need something to catch the sap. You can use a bucket straight up. Some people will attach a tube to their tap and put it right into a bucket so the bucket sits on the ground and collects the sap. We have bags that are hanging here. If you are on a budget, you can even use something as simple as an empty milk jug to catch the sap. So you don't have to go fancy, you don't have to go crazy, you don't have to go high budget. You can collect sap in so many different ways. So what we did was we got these. I can hear the dripping in here, you all. This is amazing. So we just tapped these yesterday, and they're already flowing so much. Look at all this liquid in this bag. So this is sap that we've already collected. So you'll also want a food grade bucket to collect the sap in, because once it starts flowing, you're going to need to check it every day and keep collecting sap. And the way that you turn it into syrup is you cook it. You boil it until most of the water is boiled off and it becomes a thick, sugary syrup. And if you want to take it a step further, you can keep cooking that syrup until it turns into maple sugar, which is traditionally how maple products were transported, was as sugar. Think about easier to transport sugar than syrup, right? So that's another thing that you can do. And we did have Greg Johnson came down one year and showed us the process of making sap into sugar with our students. So that was really, really cool. So I'm going to just show you this because this tree already has 3 taps in it. You don't want to over tap a tree. You want to look up for the diameter of your tree how many taps seems good to put in without hurting the tree, without over tapping it. So you can see that we drilled the hole, and then this is the tap. We just tap the tap in. And this kind of tap has a little kind of shark fin um, attachment on it. And that is so if you buy this kind of maple sugaring bag, which you can get at Farm and Fleet, you can just hang this this silver piece right on the tap itself and attach the bag to the silver piece. And it will just drip into your, oh, it's so good. Oh, so sweet. Yum. If you have a chance, drink a whole cup of maple sap before you turn it into syrup. It is just like a spring tonic for your body. I'm going to actually take this off and see how much we got. So, and then I can show you the different pieces of this also. So to empty it, you really just pour the sap out of the bag into a bucket. So that's probably already a gallon that we collected just overnight. So this bag has 2 pieces. It has a little metal hoop, this, and then you can get the bag. And you just put the bag through the hoop. You fold the top of the bag over. Like so. And then you slide this whole thing, metal tube, bag and all, through this metal piece so that it hooks on these little ridges in here so that it holds onto it. And then you just make sure that that's scooted down so that this hole goes right into the bag. If you want to put a plastic tube on the tap to go down into the bottom of the bag, that's one way you can do it too, if you want to just make sure that all that sap gets down deep into the bag. But if you don't have a tube, you can also just hang it right like this. So that is how you tap a maple tree. You take your drill, you find that the south facing side of the tree is ideal because that's the side that's going to be the warmest from the sun. You wait till the daytime temperatures are above freezing and below 0 at night. And then you put your drill at an angle and you drill into the tree. You don't have to go too deep. You really only need to go about this deep into the tree. You just drill into the tree. You take your drill out and you will see sap start dripping right away out of that hole. Then you take your hammer and you tap gently into the hole that you drilled until it's all the way in, leaving this hook out enough if you're using this kind of style to hang your bag. So it's very simple. And the sap is really what's happening is all the starch that the tree has been storing in its roots to hold energy for the winter is starting to move up in the tree to bring that sugar that was stored as starch all the way up to the branches and the buds to stimulate those buds to start swelling so that we end up with maple flowers and maple leaves to come in not too long. So usually around the end of March, end of February, early March is when we tap our trees. But again, you got to keep an eye on the weather, and the weather will tell you when it's really time. So that's maple sugaring. And then, like I said, you cook it. Do not abandon your sap. Do not start boiling it and abandon it because it'll get to a certain point, and if you miss it and you leave it on the stove, it will very quickly turn into charcoal if you don't catch it. So keep an eye on it. A lot of people will set up sap cooking outdoors on an outdoor fire, which is the traditional way. It is a great way to do it. It's some more work for sure. So if you're going to try it out, make sure first of all that you're tapping the right kind of tree, and second of all, get a buddy, ideally somebody who's done it before, and do it together for the first time. And once you have tapped a tree once, you'll never go back. you can just feel maple sugaring season in your bones once you start to kind of get that flow into your body feel of the seasons as they come around again. So maple sugaring time means spring is right around the corner, y'all. We got this. We made it through the winter, and we have sweet things to come. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.